You know you're going down the wrong path, and that relapse could become more prevalent, or the relapse could occur, is really we identify three things that are likely to happen if you don't, and then be aware of them, and then if you don't stop them in their tracks, they're going to carry you to full-blown cravings. Cravings are really just this kind of just emotional rush and this mental rush that I have to have it now, this compulsion to use. The thought process is really where we can either diminish obsession or we can feed obsession. When we're feeding obsession, three things we tend to start doing if we start thinking about using again is we experience euphoric recall, where we start kind of romanticizing the feelings, the euphoria, the pleasure that we would feel if we took that drink or if we used again. And the more we nurse that feeling of how good it would feel and how much relief it would bring us, that has a tendency to feed cravings. Another thought process that we have, and I've watched clients go through this, or they've explained it when they've come back from a relapse, and that is relapse justification. We as addicts are very smart, and we can convince ourselves that we need this drug, why we need it. We can justify why. It's because somebody did this to me, or because I feel this way, or it'll just be this once, and we start really putting on the logic of our own self-will to like give us justification and reason why it's okay to use and why it's appropriate at this time. The addict who has not learned to tell himself no is probably doomed to like go on and do something that's going to be harmful to them. The third thing that we emphasize with clients is recognize when you are creating the blueprint in your mind. You're making the plan. When will I use? How will I pick up and use? Who will I go get it from? How do I get the money? How do I get away with it? How will I be able to stay in my sober living and get away with it? Whenever you start making the plan and you start finding ways to pick up alcohol or pick up drugs, that level of planning really does feed into the cravings. And really there's kind of a point of no return when you've built up your thought process to such a way in those four things: the euphoric recall, the relapse justification, or the creating the blueprint, the plan for going out and relapsing. What you've done is you've fed that obsession, and that obsession really leads to the compulsion of, like, your cravings are so big. Unless you have a very strong intervention, you're most likely to go out and use. Now, it doesn't mean we're doomed because we are triggered. The triggers happen to people all the time, both internal and external. Thoughts of using because we don't feel right, we feel uncomfortable, things aren't going well, we're feeling pressure, we feel anxiety. All those things are real and they're not to be minimized. However, there are coping skills that you can use to overcome triggers. And there are thought processes you can use to, like, fight against the thoughts that you're having. Having a proactive program like AA, getting in the habit of calling your sponsor, going to meetings when you're feeling off, going to meetings just as a regular habit, talking with your sponsor, doing step work, which is about creating that spiritual connection with your higher power, and having kind of the spiritual armor that it takes to remain sober and to build character that doesn't need to get sober to feel good. Running a proactive program certainly does minimize triggers, and it puts you in the right thought process where the thought of being triggered doesn't lead me to, like, start romanticizing drugs and start making this plan and start justifying why it's okay for me to go and use. One of the things that we emphasize is learning that process, knowing when it's here. If you hear it from somebody else, you can spot it. When you're having those thoughts yourself, you can spot it. And if you can spot it and your sole desire is really to stay sober at all costs, you just go and you tell somebody, you tell anybody who will listen, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking. And the minute you start to put that out into the light, you've probably pretty much crushed it. It's very hard to go out and relapse after you've told multiple people and you've talked through the issue multiple times and people have kind of given you some suggestion and some advice. Not saying it doesn't happen, but taking that proactive effort and reacting positively with some good coping skills are ways that we try to work to prevent relapse.